And some travel to all the sanctified places of pilgrimage. All these practices are called Yoga Jagya, sacrifice for a certain type of perfection in the material world. There are others who engage themselves in the studies of different Vedic literatures, specifically the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutras, or the Sankhya philosophy. All these are called Swadhyaya Jagya, or engagement in the sacrifice of studies. All these yogis are faithfully engaged in different types of sacrifice and are seeking a higher status of life. Krishna consciousness, however, is different from these because it is the direct service of the Supreme Lord. Krishna consciousness cannot be obtained by any one of the above-mentioned types of sacrifice. They can only be obtained by the mercy of the Lord and His bona fide devotees. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is transcendental.
It's transcendental. In this age, it's difficult. In this age, it's very difficult for us to perform severe austerities. The age is not very conducive for such renunciation. This age is, people have short lives, and manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya, lazy, certainly very lazy for self-realization. First of all, they're not interested in it, but even if they do become a little interested, they're not willing to perform it very seriously. Just like we see Hatha Yoga mentioned here. People can't perform it very carefully in this age. It's a very fallen age. This age is Kaler Doshini De Rajan Yasti Ekumahanjana Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Paramajya. Ocean of faults. Ocean of faults. Practically there's nothing good for self-realization in this age. But there's one thing. And that is Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Parambraja. By chanting Hare Krishna. This is the one good quality that can give one perfection in Kali Yuga. Of course, along with chanting, one should also abide by certain principles which are helpful, such as abstaining from eating meat and fish, eggs, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication. These things are principles that are activities that disturb bhakti or devotional service. They disturb our chanting also. one can still chant if he engages in those activities, but it will take a long time to get the full benefit of the chanting if one engages in those activities. If one gets free from those activities, then the chanting will be very quickly effective. That's why we see that when someone's very eager to make spiritual advancement, then they also give up those activities along with their chanting, and then they make progress very quickly. And if they stay away from those activities and they keep chanting, then their progress goes forward very strongly. And then svadhyaya, these activities mentioned here, they're beneficial. Tapasya, svadhyaya, studying the Vedas. Chaturmasya. We also in ISKCON follow Chaturmasya. We don't necessarily follow it as strictly as the Karmakandya system, but Prabhupada wanted us to abstain during those 4 months. 1 month we fast from spinach, 1 month from milk, 1 month from yogurt, 1 month from dal, urd dal. It's actually, it should be performed, or it can be performed, shall we say, more severely. They don't shave. They only eat once a day. Those who really follow it strictly, they eat gruel. Gruel is a combination of boiled rice and dal, and they keep their hands behind their back, and they eat off the ground. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he did this. And then, depending on which day of the month it is, if it's the first day of the moon, they take 1 mouthful, that's all, for the whole day. And if it's the second day, then they take 2 mouthfuls. This is severe austerity. These are good. Fasting on Ekadashi. These things are, as long as they're done to achieve the pleasure of Krishna, then they're good. If they're done to gain prestige, or to get mystic powers, or to get followers or whatever, to become proud, then they're material. If they're done, it's like in the Garga Samhita, we're rendering that book, so we're reading, and Srimati Radharani, she wanted to please Krishna. She wanted to win the favor of Krishna, so she asked one of her gopi friends, who was a student of Garga Muni, how can I please Krishna? Just see, Radharani is thinking, how can I please Krishna? So she's not complacent. She doesn't think, I'm Radha. Everything I do is perfect. Even though she's Radharani, she's still thinking, how can I please Krishna? She's asking others. So her gopi friend told her, best way to please Krishna is to worship Tulsi Devi. And she gave very elaborate instructions how to worship Tulsi Devi. And Radharani followed it exactly everything perfectly. She worshipped Tulsi Devi. But her aim was to please Krishna, not for any sense gratification. Studying the Vedas is good if it's done with the aim of pleasing Krishna. But if otherwise, Vedeshu Durlavam Adurlavam Atma Bhakto. If one doesn't have the mood of devotion, then he can study the Vedas for thousands of lifetimes and he won't make any progress. There are people like that. They're the Smartas. Smartas, they study the Vedas, or the Mayavadis, they study the Vedas, but they don't study with the mood of devotion. So the result is they don't get Krishna very quickly. Bahunam janmanamante gyanavam mam prapadite vasudeva sarvamiti samahana sudurlabha. It takes a long time, that process. But anything that's done with bhakti, when I say anything, I don't mean anything. I mean anything that is recommended in the Vedas. If we take any of the recommendations, tapomaya yagya, ashtanga yoga, going to places of pilgrimage, these things are all beneficial if they're done to please Krishna. So the consciousness is the real thing. Sometimes Lord Chaitanya would meet a person and he would show them no particular care or respect because they were Mayavadis or Karmis, even though externally they appeared to be advanced. And then on other occasions, Lord Chaitanya would meet someone who was a great devotee and he would show them so much respect. So the real respect goes to those who are actually devoted to Krishna. Not just to one who performs austerities or even to one who knows the external principles of the Vedas. The real thing is, what is the consciousness? How much is this person surrendered to Krishna? That's the criterion. That's what we want to see. That's what Krishna wants to see. That's what the spiritual master wants to see. He's the representative of Krishna, so he wants to see how much. And every moment we're being tested. Krishna it's not that he's in Goloka and he can't see what we're doing. He knows exactly what we're doing. Spiritual master knows. So every day, every minute, we're under scrutiny. Which decisions do we make? Do we make decisions that will be pleasing to Krishna or for Maya? Either we serve Krishna or Maya. Serving demigods is also part of serving Maya. Because why do people serve demigods? They serve to fulfill their own material desires. Sometimes people say, well, why? Why can't we serve demigods purely? Without desire for return. Well, what will you ask them? Let's say you want to serve a demigod selflessly, so you'll serve them, but what will you want in return?
Bhakti.
Bhakti to whom?
Well, to Krishna.
Oh, Now, that, if you worship, if you approach demigod or demigoddess, like Katyayani, like the gopis did, and you say, my dear goddess, we want to have Krishna as our husband, please give us the blessing. That's pure. If you ask the demigods to give you bhakti, pure love for Krishna, then that's all right. That's good. Not only the demigods, you can ask anyone. But of course the demigods are in a position where they can actually award such things. So, it's a very difficult age. It's difficult to become self-realized in Kali Yuga. It's difficult to get away from the allurement of Maya. Maya is all-pervading. But the process has been made easy by chanting, especially the Hare Krishna mantra, but any names of God. If you know 99 names, like the Muslims, you can chant 99 names of God. But most of them don't know those 99 names. But if you know them, you can chant them. They also have beads, 27 beads, I think. Isn't it? Or 54?
It's
54. So, no wait, no, 33. And then they chant the name 3 times on each bead, at least the Druze. I was preaching in Israel to the Druze, and they had 33 beads, and they chant the 99. Then they chant 3 names on each bead. So I said, all right, so let's chant your names. So they took out they all had their beads. I said, okay, so the sheikh was there, the leader, and I said, so now you recite the first name. So he recited in Arabic, and then we all said it in Arabic. I said, okay, second name, and he did that. We all said it. So we were chanting on the beat. Next name, and after 4 names, he didn't know anymore. So
he was the sheikh.
He was the sheikh. He was the leader. But then he was excited, so he sent one of his relatives in the house, and they came out with a calendar or something like that with all the names. So then we went through and chanted all the names. So I asked them to chant 16 rounds every day of those 99 names. And they'll make progress because they're names of God. We have our names of God 3. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama. 3 names, 16. Iti Shorashakam Namnam Kalikam Ashanashana. 16 words are designed in such a way. They're Kalikam Ashanashanam. They destroy all the bad qualities of Kali Yuga, these 16 words. That's why we chant. And not only do we get liberated from birth and death, but we can get love for Krishna. Getting love for Krishna, that's the best thing. Prema Pramartha Mahan. Nothing better than that. Because if one gets love for Krishna, well, liberation is automatically included. Mukti mukulitanjani sevate sma dharmartha kama samane pratiksha. Mukti mukulitanjani sevate sma. Srila Bilvamangal Thakur said this prayer that for one who's fully devoted to Krishna and love. And Mukti, the goddess Mukti, she stands with folded hands, waiting to serve the devotee. And with her are her assistants, Dharma, Artha, and Kama. They're also waiting to serve the devotee. So the devotee doesn't have to try separately for liberation, or Dharma, or Artha, or Kama. They're automatically, those are just the side benefits of prema, of devotional service. It's a great secret. People have a hard time understanding this. How just by serving God, serving Krishna, can you be happy? They think, how can I be happy unless I satisfy my senses and my mind? But serving Krishna does satisfy the senses. It's like we take prasadam, satisfies the senses. Isn't it? Prasadam satisfies the senses. And hearing about Bhagavad Gita satisfies the mind more than anything else. Where do you get such knowledge? There are those who say God can have no form. It's not very satisfying. They say God is great, but He has no form. So how do you imagine loving someone with no form? Can you imagine loving someone without a form? No form, no activities. How can you love something that can't? It's like if you say, so do you love your child? Yes. Love your child if the child is there. I mean, if there's actually a child. It's difficult to love a child that is not there, it's not existing. So it's very difficult. How can you practice love of God when you have no idea of God's form, or His name, or His actions, or where He lives? So we are giving God's name as His mother's name, His father's name, His brother's name, what He looks like, what He does. That's real. And so when they have information about God, then they pick someone else and Him and God. Because they have to find a form. Sometimes we see different groups. They make one of the teacher, they make the guru God, or that's quite popular. Or they make a demigod God. Or in the West, it gets more degraded. We make a mouse God. Or a duck. Yeah, make animals. Or we make some politician or some movie star or some singer or some sports hero. We begin to idolize them. Here we have pictures of Krishna on the wall, but if you go in some houses, they have big pictures of rock idols, and they worship them. If you go to a concert, they worship some I saw one picture one time, one rock one rock star, he was on stage in front in England. There was thousands, a big stadium, and he drank a little bit from a glass and then he sprayed it out, and the people were so happy to get the water. Just like we do, you know. We offer the water to Krishna, you know, his lotus feet, and then we spray it, and everyone's so happy to get the water. So he was thinking that he had become now worshipable. And the people, they liked it. They were also wanting, we got the water. So that's what happens. If we don't have the form of Krishna, if we don't have the actual personality of God, and then we accept some imitation, poor imitation, and we try to worship that. And if all else fails, someone will worship woman, or someone worship man, or serve the politician. Now there's some elections going on, so the politicians are being given so much appreciation. I don't know why. They're nothing extraordinary, but people are so hankering to give their love, to give their worship, to give their praise to someone, and they don't have any information about God, so they give it to this man or woman. So it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. And really there's no hope except the Krishna consciousness movement. There's really no hope. So we really have a lot to do. This life, it's not enough just to try to be Krishna conscious, you know, peacefully living in my little place. It's not enough. Lord Chaitanya would not accept it. And besides, it'll be difficult for you to keep up such private little worship like that, because this is Kali Yuga. But by giving Krishna consciousness to others, that is the best way to get it ourselves also. When we tell others about Krishna or give others this knowledge, we get it better. And America is a good place to start. If we can make America Krishna conscious, the rest of the world will be a piece of cake, as they say. So we have the toughest job, and of course you here in Orlando, you have the toughest of the toughest jobs. But it's a great opportunity to serve. I think there may be some special blessing for this city coming, and it's nice to see all of you are enthusiastically coming together and chanting Hare Krishna, taking prasad. This is very auspicious, and if we continue to stay close, that's the danger, that sometimes we may quarrel amongst ourselves, and then we give up the association of devotees and quarrel with the non-devotees instead. So if you're going to quarrel, better to quarrel at least with devotees. Because at least if you quarrel with devotees, you're in the association of devotees. But when we give up the association of devotees, then we just quarrel with the non-devotees and we make no progress at all. Just like if you're on a boat, if you're on a ship in the middle of the sea, so if some of the people on board are a little difficult to get along with, so what do? Well, you can jump off, or you can tolerate. so better to tolerate. And you just tolerate till you get back to the land, and then you can go your separate ways. So once you go back to Goloka Vrindavan, then you can live on that side, you can live on that side. You can associate with the left-wing gopis, you can associate with the right-wing gopis. But until then, better to stay on board. Any questions?
Maharaj, in that regard, sometimes devotees might have some quarrel with other devotees and have some difficulty getting along, and they feel like better to leave the association because if I make offenses against devotees, it's worse. So, it's
Well, maybe there's some other devotees you can get along with. You may not get along with this one, so don't make offenses to him. Maybe some over here you can get along with. Oh, there's some you can get along with? Must be some devotees you can get along with. So then, associate with them. So someone looks like.
Maharaj, you said there's some special blessing coming. Do you have some insight that we could tap into? You said it might be some special blessing coming for
of course, there may be. I think I heard that you have a nice new temple. That's one thing, right?
Yes.
So that's already a very nice special blessing. Other things could come also. It's up to Krishna and our sincerity, how one gets blessings according to sincerity. As they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So one who's completely surrendered, he's getting rewards just one after the next, every moment. Ecstatic rewards. And those of us who don't surrender very much, and we get rewards less often. But we really have quite a bit to offer the world, this movement. Sometimes we become a little complacent to keep it to ourselves. But a Brahmin who doesn't teach his knowledge, he loses it. So if we don't preach, if we don't give out, pass on what we've got, it's like water. If you keep it just in one place, it gets stagnant. It has to be flowing. So we have to keep the knowledge flowing. Whatever you learn, pass it on. And then you'll keep getting more and more. And you'll keep giving more and more. And Krishna can give unlimited. Don't worry that, it's not like in the material world everyone's afraid. It's like, sometimes, the caste Brahmins are afraid that more people are being made Brahmins. This will hurt business. But no, we shouldn't think like that. That's cripple-minded. That's Kripana. Mahatma, he doesn't worry that, if there's too many Vaishnavas, then how will I get my, payments or whatever, my...
Slice of the pie.
Yeah. No, Krishna has no shortages. There's no difficulty for Krishna to feed 10 billion Vaishnavas. Shouldn't think, well, if everyone becomes a devotee, then how will we have enough prasadam? What will I eat? They'll eat all the prasadam and then I won't get any. No. Krishna can supply unlimited amounts of prasadam. Unlimited amounts of mercy. It's not that if someone else becomes a devotee, they'll get so much mercy from Krishna and there won't be any left for me. Or sometimes we may think if too many devotees join, if like too many women join, then they'll get all the husbands and I won't get a husband. Or if too many men join, then they'll get all the wives and then I won't get a wife. No, we shouldn't think like that. We'll get wives and husbands. If that's what we want, Krishna will provide us. No shortages in Krishna consciousness. The only shortage is that there's a lack of Krishna consciousness in the world. Any other questions?
I have in Krishna consciousness, like when I joined here, in the beginning I felt a lot of receiving, like love from everybody. They really wanted to help. But when you start talking with your Karmi language, people resist and they show attitude. Some people get along, some people don't. And now everybody gets along very good because now I've changed. But what I have felt in this is there is some ego that I am Krishna devotee. I am better than others. And I've heard again and again from several places that you don't associate with karmis. So if you don't associate with karmis, if you tell me not to associate with karmis or outside world, the minute I see them, I'm going to get scared with them. No, I don't want to associate with them. My attitude towards them will not be same. Like I cannot have compassion towards them.
Why?
Because it will disturb my spiritual progress. That was, I have heard several times that it's better to stay with the devotees.
No, you live with devotees, share intimate association with devotees, but you can help the non-devotees. Help them. That's called Balisheshu. They're called Balisheshu. And Kripa should show mercy to the Balisheshu. That means innocent. There's two types of non-devotees. Balisheshu and Dvisatsu. So Balisheshu means innocent. They're not bad. They're misguided. But then there's demons who really they're demoniac. And so those, upeksha, you should avoid them. But the innocent, if you can be merciful to them, merciful means give them knowledge of Krishna as much as they can take, not more than they want. But be careful, because even though they're innocent, they're also implicated in material activities. And by their association, you'll also become contaminated unless you give them what you're giving instead of they give. Just like if you're with a non-devotee and you say, "Here, would you like some prasadam?" And he says, "Oh, thank you very much." But the other way around, if he says, "Here, would you like a hot dog?" And if you take, see? So there's danger. How can you say there's not danger? And if you're not on your guard, and before you know it, you'll be eating the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. But if you are compassionate and strong and careful, and you can gradually bring them up to the Krishna platform. And that's your benefit and their benefit. That's not ego. It's not ego to think that these persons should become a devotee of Krishna. Krishna says that. Sarva dharma parityajya. He tells everyone to surrender. So, you're his representative, you want them to surrender to Krishna. That's not your ego, that's Krishna's order. As far as a devotee goes, he doesn't think he's great. He thinks he's very insignificant. But still, he has to perform his duty because Krishna has asked him to do this. So he doesn't think, because I'm preaching I'm great, he thinks I'm very insignificant, but still I have to try to preach. Question?
I was same thought when I was talking. Like when someone gets in contact with the movement and he learns and he likes, starts chanting, but he has his job, he has to deal with people that he was doing a certain way before. Now he thinks, well, I don't like this way before, I like to be a devotee. And then, but he starts to be approached the same way from this other people because that's what he was before. So how to deal with that situation? Now he's going to be rude with them and say, no. How can he, guard himself, but at the same time deal with them appropriately to maintain them, and they will see, oh, he becomes a devotee. This is nice. He's nice than was before. You know what I mean? That how to get the boundaries correct.
Well, if you remember Krishna's instructions, what are the qualities of a devotee? What are some of the qualities? You can say some?
Compassion.
Honesty.
Well, the ones that are mentioned there.
Honesty.
He's kind to everyone, does not quarrel with anyone.
Friendly to everyone.
Hmm?
Friendly to everyone.
Friendly to everyone. He's regulated in his eating habits. He's fixed in the absolute truth. He's clean. He's poetic. He's
Non-enemies.
so these good qualities. That's part of our teaching also. So when you're dealing with those people, you be friendly. Friendly with everyone. He's the dearmost friend of ours, Suridam Sarvadehi. He's the best friend. But he's not the best friend. Not the way they think a best friend. They have their idea what they think a best friend is. Best friend's someone who goes to the bar with me and drinks. You want to be my best friend? Yeah, let's go to the bar and drink. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, then you can't be my best friend. No, actually, I can be your best friend by not doing it. That's not a good friend. A good friend who gives you poison. Here, drink some poison. It's on me. I'll pay for it. I'll buy this round of poison. That's not friendly. Superficially friendly. Their idea is superficial friendship, not real friendship. Soul friendship. So we're making real friendship on the spiritual platform. They may not realize it immediately. Maybe not even in this lifetime. But still, I've been their best friend. Someday they'll realize it. It's like if you give a book, Bhagavad Gita, to someone, at the time they may say, oh, okay. And then they see you some years later and they say, I read that book. It was changed my life. Thank you so much. You were their best friend. You gave them the best thing. At the time they didn't know.
regard to what he says about the devotee says, "Oh, I'm a devotee," and you're karmic. Wouldn't devotees supposed to be proud that my Lord is Krishna? That's why I'm proud that I'm Krishna's devotee.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm great. It means he's great.
Right. That means that my father is president. That's why I'm proud. That's what Krishna is my Lord. That's why I'm proud. That's why I'm a Krishna's devotee. I'm better than everybody else because Krishna is my Lord.
Well, at least Krishna is the greatest, and he's also their Lord, but they've temporarily forgotten. So, just like in a hospital, the nurses don't feel better they don't think themselves better than the patients. They just think, I'm fortunate that I don't have the disease right now, so I'm helping these others who have the disease. It's not a question of feeling better. A nurse doesn't feel better than the patient. She's there to help the patient.
Yeah, but if I tell somebody that I'm Krishna's devotee, that means they will be a little jealous that why can't I be Krishna's devotee? That way, there's some people has those kind of attitude that I like to be the better. When you show them that okay, I am Krishna's devotee, I'm Krishna's my Lord, and this is how I am proud of him. That's why sometimes that way they can get interested more into Krishna and think that how can you be more better than me? Let me see what you're doing.
Well, the devotee's expert. That's one of Daksha, that's one of the qualities of the devotee also. So he'll be expert in fanning the spark of everyone's devotion. Some may be through competition, some may be through being very compassionate, or some giving them knowledge. There's so many different ways to attract people to Krishna. Whatever way the devotee finds the most successful.
My question was actually to Maharaj, how can we increase the congregation? Like, how can we really impress? How can we make devotees, more devotees? We're not very fortunate in that.
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. But I think it has a lot to do with our own desire, our own purity. To the extent that we're following, we can expect others to follow. If we're not following, then it's difficult to get anyone else to follow. If I'm smoking and I say, you should stop smoking, people won't take it very seriously. So, if we want people to surrender to Krishna, then we also have to surrender to Krishna. And they'll see that the life of surrender to Krishna is very nice. At the same time, we have to achar prachar. So we have to behave nicely, follow nicely, and then also preach. Because again, if we just keep it to ourselves, it's like Ramanujacharya, he got a mantra from his guru, and it was supposed to be a private mantra, but he gave it to everyone. So, how do we give Krishna consciousness to everyone? Well, we can see here in Orlando, they know how to give Mickey Mouse to everyone. They make a big theme park. They broadcast. They make movies and everything about Mickey Mouse. And then people become Mickey conscious.
Very true.
So it's, when I don't know, they still wear those ears? They still do that? So, 50 years now. 50 years of ears. And, so it means every generation is getting the same thing. But Mr. Disney was enthusiastic. So we have to be also enthusiastic to give them Krishna. And we pray a lot and serve a lot and chant and all these things, then Krishna will give us blessings.
When a devotee is in the company of other devotees, he tries to say that I am the most fallen, I am lowly, I am wretched. But when he is with some non-devotees, if he starts thinking that I am great because I am Krishna devotee, like isn't he having double standards?
Yes.
Is that the right thing to do?
Yeah, no, you shouldn't think. But there's a difference between thinking you're better and trying to help. See the difference? No. Try to remember this analogy. The nurse, she doesn't think she's better than the patient, but still she has to take care of the patient.
Right.
And if the patient says, I've decided I'm not going to take my medicine today, the nurse says, oh, no. That doesn't mean she thinks she's better, but she has a duty to perform. It's her duty, and she knows better. The patient is not trained, is not educated. So the nurse has to say, no, you take your medicine. In a few months you won't have to take medicine. A teacher, when a teacher is teaching the children, doesn't mean he thinks he's better. It just means it's his duty. He has to give this knowledge. It's not that teacher says, okay, who wants to teach today? No, teacher teaches, children listen. It's not the yata mata tata pata. Everyone's philosophy is okay. Everyone has their own view. In my opinion, perhaps, maybe, I think Bhagavad Gita means this. Oh, we hear from the acharyas, and then we pass that on. It's not that we accept everyone's view of what they think Bhagavad Gita means. Otherwise, then you have a hodgepodge movement. Everyone's opinion's all right. I think Bhagavad Gita means that the five Pandavas are the five senses, Krishna is the mind, and you like that?
Never looked at it that way. Never heard about it that
but that's
way.
just speculation. That's the point. We don't accept that. I was just making something up. Of course, I didn't make it up, but someone wrote a Bhagavad Gita like that. And, there's hundreds and hundreds of different versions of Gita, and everyone's giving their own opinion. But we don't accept that. We accept as it is Krishna's opinion. That doesn't mean we're proud. It just means we're doing our duty. It doesn't mean we think we're better than someone else. But humble doesn't mean that I'm humble so I let them speak whatever they want and give that interpretation of Bhagavad Gita. I'm humble so I let my child run in the street. I don't like to disturb my child. No, the child will be more disturbed when he gets smashed by the car than when you're yanking. So, humility means carrying out Krishna's order. Others may appreciate or not appreciate. You can't be so concerned about that. You have to be more concerned about whether Krishna appreciates. If Krishna's happy with you, just like if your stomach is satisfied with the food, you don't have to worry about the ear. How am I going to satisfy the ear with food? Should I give the food to the ear? That's what they say. Manava seva is Madhava seva. That means give food to the ear. If I give food to the ears and the nose and the eyes, then the stomach will be satisfied. Is that good philosophy? No, but if you give food to the stomach, then the ears and the eyes, they're satisfied. That's our philosophy. Madhava seva is Manava seva.
Panta, Srila Prabhupada?
Huh?
Your encounter with Srila Prabhupada?
Oh. Well, maybe I'll think about it. One time I asked Prabhupada, we were in the car, we were driving. It was a long drive, 2 or 3 hours, 2 hours. And so the conversation was, there were 3 of us sitting in the back seat. Prabhupada was sitting in the front seat and one devotee was driving, and I was in the middle in the back seat. So I asked Prabhupada, how much association did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur have with his Guru Maharaj? So when I asked the question, there was a long silence. Prabhupada didn't respond right away. And the other devotees, they considered that that was the wrong question. So they were making signs that they didn't think it was a good question. And then Prabhupada said, after a long time, he said, why do you ask? And I admitted, I said, Prabhupada, it was just out of curiosity. It's not important. So then he was silent, he didn't say any more. So I took it that that was a question just out of curiosity. Not the right type of question to ask the spiritual master. So I got a nice lesson. One time I was driving Prabhupada to some engagement like a television or radio show, I forget. And we were driving, and Prabhupada said, he detected that maybe it was taking a long time, so he said, so do you know the way? I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. And then I turned right into a dead-end street. And he said, better you get the directions before.
We're glad to be made here tonight.
I still haven't learned my lesson. So Prasadam's waiting, I think.
Yeah, it's late and we had kirtan for some time,
Okay.
so I think we can go
Yes.
straight to the next. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Danavir Maharaj B.G.
Jai.